Hello viewers, we're back again today with this ILiving fan, model number ILG8F21. And in this video we're going to do the teardown. Let's see how easily this is opened up for cleaning and servicing. And let's also see what the motor looks like inside. And we're going to try and balance it. I've got the lead tape out here and we'll get it balanced up, hopefully. Balance isn't terrible, but it's not exactly what it should be either. So the guard looks like it's going to come off with just these clips. There's one of those pesky screws down there. I don't know why they insist on putting those in there, but let's get that out. Seem to come out pretty easily, at least. And we should be able to lift the guard up and off. And that's that. Okay, so the guard comes off very easily. And of course you have access to everything in here for cleaning. So it's very easy to clean. And in theory, you know, with the oil ports, there's no reason to really have to split the motor open and do anything like that. But I want to do it anyways, just to take a peep inside the motor. I'm going to switch to the other camera just for a moment so that we can get a close-up shot of the motor and what the windings look like. It's a very good sized motor. There's the oil port, and you can see the oil wicking material is right there. So that should work correctly. And the windings look like they're a nice, thick gauge. Very surprised by that. There's this junk on the blades. I don't know what that is. It's purely cosmetic. I don't think it's really an issue, but it's there. Looks like it's maybe a 1/2-inch shaft. Anyways, I'll go back to the other camera and we'll start disassembling this. I've attached the camera to the fan. I don't know if this is going to give really a good angle or not. It could get all blurry because it's shaking or whatever, but I'm going to give it a shot. So it looks like that's going to be, it's a pretty good size Allen key there. That's tight. There you go. That wasn't too bad. I just had a bad grip on it. Good notch there for the blade to sit in on the shaft. I like that. And the blade is perfectly decent. It's and it's got the riveted blades. It's pretty sturdy. Spider looks strong. I think that's an acceptable blade, especially by today's standards. Okay, so let's go back to the motor. And it looks like in order to open it up, we're going to have to remove it from the shell entirely, which is kind of annoying. And then I think there would be only 2 screws holding it together at that point. So we're going to have to go take a look at the back of the fan for that. And we're going to want to undo these 4 screws here. bolts on the other side. These are coming off fairly easily so far. I'll just make a note here that it's bolt, washer, and then on the other side, lock, washer, nut. And no, the other screwdriver did not break. It is still here and in good working order. I'm just using this one because I found this one and it seems to be a lot faster. Okay, so we're down to the last screw here. So the motor, now if I tilt it kind of like this, shouldn't be too bad. It'll still rest on the housing, but it'll come loose after this screw. And the lock washer, for whatever reason, is stuck to the motor. I don't know why, but it is. Okay. Whoops, that's not going to work. So now, I think the removal of these two bolts should open up the motor. And there's no, oh, there is one washer, a lock washer, on the opposite side of the nut. Okay, so that's free now. I don't feel any anomalies on the shaft, so it should slide off if it's willing to do so. No, it's probably gonna have to pry open a little bit because it's probably I just gotta be very careful doing this, because if you slip and you break the windings, and you got a headache. But just be real careful. Patience is a virtue. Just go through here at every angle, and we'll kind of start opening this up here. This is kind of nice because you got a lot of tab here to work with. You're not getting close to the windings really. Move up to a thicker screwdriver. A little bit further. Getting real close here. That's good enough. Okay, and here's the inside of the motor, and it's a nice motor. Looks quite nice. So I'll go ahead and switch to the other camera for a minute, and we'll get a close-up view of it. That's really nice quality. I am thoroughly impressed with this motor. This is not an El Cheapo typical China motor. This is a good motor. And take a look at this. Look at the center of the rotor here. See how it's got the holes at an angle? So this rotates during normal operation. It rotates like this. And with the way those holes are, it's going to pull the air through. Help cool the motor down. It's pretty brilliant. You know, looks pretty good on the back too. There is a, I think that's a resetting thermal fuse in there, right there. Oh yeah, that's definitely a resetting fuse. That's not a one-time fuse. That's a resetting thermal switch like they used in the old fans. Jeez, that's a really nice motor in there. Very, very surprised. And you can see the wicking material is wet, so that means there is oil in there. Looks kind of dry in there though. I don't see much oil in there. I do see traces of lubrication on the shaft, but not a ton, so I'm glad I opened this up to put more oil in. And looking on the front, it's not bad, but it still looks a little bit on the dry side. So we're going to go ahead and oil this now, and then we'll put it back together and try to balance it. Alright, so we got two kinds of oil that we can use. We could use the 3-in-1, which is in the blue can, which you can see here. It's not going to be clear with this camera, but it's specifically for fans. And then we have this other oil, which is the Blue Lake Products Zoom Spout Oiler. I use this quite often. Actually, I got to get some more of it. I'm almost out of it. But I'm going to use this, and I'm going to put a couple drops of oil just in here like this. Just fill up the back, not fill it up, but just put a bunch of drops in there. The excess will be absorbed by the wick as I push the shaft in. Yes, this is correct. There will be people out there, dude, what are you doing? Well, you can keep talking. This fan will keep running. No oil's going to leak out. Everything will be just fine. And I'll also put a bit of oil on here. You know, just like a drop. That was more than I wanted. And then I'll slip this back in. Just put a little bit of oil on the wick. This is what the oil port does. It puts the oil on the wick, which is where it needs to be. I'm just going to leave this tilted back like that so the oil can seep in for a moment, and then I'll put the shaft back in. The oil has seeped in, so now we'll slip the shaft back down. It's going to be an air pocket there. It's running pretty freely now. Okay, so now we'll do the same thing on the front. We'll just put a little bit of oil. We don't have to go nuts because it's easy enough to oil it again. But we'll put a little bit of oil on here. And if you was to put it into the port like you would during a normal service, it's going to the same place. I'm just doing it on the other side so you can see what happens. You're just filling up that wick with this port. That's what that does. Okay, so now that's good to go. Go ahead and put a little bit of oil on the shaft, not a lot, just actually I'll put it in the bearing instead, so it gets on there right away. Just a little bit to help it slide on. Okay. And make sure the holes are lined up on the outside here. where the screws go through, and then we'll put the screws in so we can tighten it down. I'm going to put the other side in before I really torque it down. And these don't have to go crazy tight, just hand firm. Okay. Now we'll put the rest of the screws in place. Oh, the lock washer's not stuck on there anymore. Okay, we're going to have a bit of an alignment issue here. The holes are not aligning up quite right. Oh, there we go, that was easy. That's the reason why you don't tighten stuff until all the screws is in place, because sometimes you got to move things around a bit. Okay. Now we'll tighten everything all the way. And not crazy tight, just hand firm. You want it to be as even as possible. Okay, I'm going to wipe off the excess oil here. I got to change the battery in the camera, and then we'll finish the reassembly of the motor because we're not done yet. Okay, so the motor is reassembled. However, the shaft is very, in fact, it's pretty much locked. And this is normal. The way you fix this is you take a screwdriver and you just strike it a couple times. Move it around a bit, in and out, up and down, and it frees right up. No problem. Just have to get the bearings back into alignment, and then they'll be fine. And this motor has never really run before. It's only got like 5 or 10 minutes on it, so the bearings are not broken in yet. They need to run for a day or two to break in and smooth out and kind of find where they want to run. So that's it for the oiling. It's oiled. We'll put the blade back on, and then we're going to go ahead and try to balance this. To reattach the blade, we're going to take note of this groove on the shaft here, and the set screw is going to sit on that groove. And what I like to do is I like to screw the screw in enough to the point where it stops. Okay, it just stopped. Now I back it out like a quarter turn. The reason why I do that is so that we can move this in and out, and we can feel that the screw is on that notch and the blade is locked into place where it should be. Now that we know it's where it should be, I'm going to screw it in all the way, and we're going to make this pretty tight. That's about where it was before. Don't have to go out of control. If it gets a little bit loose, it'll just slide on the shaft and you'll hear it. So we'll keep it there. That's good there. Okay, so now we're going to attempt to balance it, having a malfunction with my Allen keys here. Why won't they close? There we go. Okay, and the spin down time is significantly better than it was before already, which would be expected. So, now let's get to the balancing. I just noticed that this blade has a little hole there, which indicates where the set screw is. That's another nice quality item. It also has a hole in the middle here, an empty hole in each blade. That serves a purpose. That is for screwing a balancing weight into the set if it was really out of line. This isn't all that out of line, so the first thing I want to do is I want to check the clock forwards and back. It's pretty significantly out of line. I would say by about a quarter inch maybe. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take we'll take this pipe cleaner here. I'm going to hold this at a certain distance so that it just barely touches the tip of the blade. And we're going to see that this other blade here is about a quarter inch out. And this other blade's about 1/8 of an inch out. So what I'm going to do is, let's see. We're going to pick a blade. I guess we'll take this one we'll go with the middle ground. And so this one has to get pushed backwards towards the motor in order to line up with this other one. That was a bit too much. Okay, and this one has to come forwards. A little bit more. Okay, so now they're all within like 1/8 of an inch. And this is very important, because if it's out of whack by much, it will throw the balance off significantly. So now that the blades are all even, let's go ahead and plug this up and test it again. And let's see how the balance compares to the way it was before. Now, it wasn't that bad before, but it was a little bit off. So let's see. That may have been enough to fix it, or at least bring it into an acceptable margin of error. Why isn't this? Huh, okay. Okay, so that actually got it really close. It is still a little bit out, but it's a lot better than it was. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to improve it much beyond that. It's pretty close. We're going to try though, just because I'm feeling ambitious tonight. Let's try to make it a little bit better. So this is unfortunately somewhat of a guess and check process. There's not really a super good way to find out exactly which blade is heavier than the others. But there is a way that you can make kind of more of an educated guess. And as ridiculous as it sounds, the way to do that is to pick up the fan and shake it. Like this. And you'll notice the blade is moving. And now it's stopped. And you need good bearings to do this. But what's going to happen is when you do this, the blade that's heavier will move to the bottom. And you can see it's been both times it was this blade. So what we need to do to correct this is we're going to take a little bit of weight and put it on these two blades. Not a lot. It's very close to being in pretty decent balance. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some lead tape. This is how I usually balance fans with a metal blade anyways. I'm going to take some lead tape and we're going to go with maybe that much. Very small quantities here because it's not that far out. And we're going to put this tape on the edge of the blade. The edge because when you put it further out from the center, it has more of an effect. So we're going to take this tape and we're going to put this on. If the fan was dirty, I would clean it, but the blades are pretty clean, so this isn't going to have any issues sticking, I don't believe. And I'm going to stick this tape just right on the back here. We got to make sure we don't bend the blade at all, because I just corrected the balance or the clock forwards and back. And I know I'm blocking the camera, but this is hard to get to from that angle, so we'll try from the front. That was much more successful. So there's that. And then do the same thing on the other blade. That was at the top. Okay. Now this may have been too much. It may offset it and then it'll become out of balance now because of that. But let's see. Let's see. Blade isn't moving too much. Okay, so now we have, well, looks like we have a heavy blade here. Is this one of the ones that I put the tape on? No, it's not. Actually, that's the original blade. That was heavy. So we may in fact have to go more. Let's see if this generally made an improvement or not. Yeah, that made an improvement. It's still not perfect, but it did make an improvement. When I pick this up, it's pretty much, it feels really close to in perfect balance. I can feel a little bit of movement when it's on the table. It's getting very close to being in perfect balance though. And it's more out of whack on the higher speeds. Okay, so that did seem to make an improvement. Well, I don't think it was enough. So let's go ahead and add another piece of tape to those two blades. I'm gonna do it in small increments again, just a little bit of tape. I don't want to go crazy here, because you can go too much and then you just throw it out of line the other way, and it's not very useful. Blade that had the tape on it, so I add the other piece to this blade. What's more interesting, watching paint dry or watching me try to peel a sticky backing off of a piece of lead? Okay, so those two pieces of tape are now in place. Let's check it again. I think it got worse. It's hard to say. I think it's worse now. Second piece of tape off. I think that was too much. You know, sometimes that happens. It doesn't take much to throw it out of line. Just out of curiosity, let's see where it's gonna fall now. Okay, see, these are the two taped blades. Oh, they're not the two taped blades. This blade has, these two are heavier than this one. So let's try putting another piece of tape on that blade. At some point you just kind of give up and say it is what it is, because you could go crazy spending hours doing this. took us. Not bad. It's not perfect, but it's not terrible. Well, I think that's going to have to be good enough. You know, it's not shaking all over the place. You can even really feel the vibration transferring to the table. It's not in perfect balance, but it's good enough, you know. When I pick it up like this, it feels like it's a really good balance. So I would say this is within an acceptable amount of margin of error. That's not bad at all. I think we're going to go with that, because at some point it just like becomes counterproductive to keep trying to make it better, because there's not really a good way to do it. So we'll go with that. It's better than it was. It's good enough. Okay. So that will conclude the teardown for cleaning and service and the lubrication of this ILiving Via. Well, actually not quite. We got to put that pesky screw back in, I guess. I don't have to, but I'll put it in for the sake of completeness. Goof. I still think that this screw is totally unnecessary, but whatever. They're all doing this now for some reason. Okay, it's all back together. As long as that rattle goes away, I'm not really worried about it. And looking at the guard, it's hardly shaking anymore, so I'd say we're pretty good on the balance front. Yeah, that's actually quite good. It definitely improved. It's not really shaking at all anymore. So I think that's it. It's ready to go. And the spin down will get better over time, but it is still improved over what it was when we first started.